Who hurt you, girl? I wish they were like real people because I would try to go hang out with them for real. I was completely engrossed in this series. Psycho. This is where it gets interesting, and this is where I get really excited. Hey chapter besties, what's up, and welcome back to another video. In today's video we will be doing our September recap. We read 11 books, which were all romances by the way, for a total of 3,716 pages, which is my second highest month. My first highest month was January, which was like over 3,900 pages. So this was a really good reading month. I read a lot of thick books. So yeah, like a lot of them were over 400 pages. So we're gonna hop right into all the tea on all these books that I read and let you know my thoughts and feelings and if I recommend them or not. So the first book that I read was The Charmer by Layla Hagen, and this is the second book in the LeBlanc Brothers series. It's based in New Orleans in the French Quarter, so the vibes of this series is really nice. Like I absolutely love the vibes, the cuisines that they talk about, like just walking around the French Quarter. I've been to New Orleans once and I can like see and visualize everything like that. However, the story in the book, there was really no real climax for me. It follows Julian, and I think he might have been either the oldest brother or one of the oldest brothers in Georgie, and I really couldn't even tell you what the book was about. There was no elevation to the story. Like there was nothing that set it apart from another story. If I can remember correctly, there was some type of friction between the two, and she shows up at his bar to kind of like clear the friction out, and then they fall into like this fake dating to help her business and to like piss off her ex or kind of let him know that she's moved on. And it was just okay. It wasn't something that I would recommend or something that I got a lot of depth out of. I always say I recommend romances where there is some deeper themes to it, something that you can learn and get out of the situation. Even if I rate it 5-star for me, I might not always recommend it to somebody else, and I think there's another book in here this month that's like that. But anyway, yeah, I rated it 3 stars. It was just okay to me. So the next book I read was the third book in the LeBlanc Brothers series, which is The Grump by Layla Hagen again. And this follows Xander and Bailey, I want to say. And basically, I remember the story a little bit. This was a very clean romance. It had spice in it, of course, but it was clean romance and clean drama. There was nothing to make you go, it's giving Young and the Restless. You know what I mean? Like it was just a clean romance book as far as the drama is concerned. But anyway, it follows Xander and Bailey, and Xander is like the CFO of the company. He's like very into money and all the things, and Bailey is working for one of his companies because his family is like, you know, they have a conglomerate. They're very rich in that in the New Orleans world. And so Bailey is making pralines for one of the companies that he owns or whatever, and he wants to get rid of the company because it's not making a profit. But they do more like nonprofit work and everything. Like they do stuff like that's meaningful to the community, meaningful to like sick children or something like that. So he wants to get rid of the company, so he promises his grandmothers that he'll go over there and kind of get a feel of what's going on, and then by the new year he'll make a decision on whether he's getting rid of this company or not. So obviously we go over there, or he goes over there, and he finds Bailey, and they kind of have this mutual attraction. They start getting to know each other. He starts showing up at events, and then they kind of fall into this romance in that aspect. And so I rated it 3 stars. If you're looking for something just like very chill and calm, that's a maybe for you. But it's not something like I could say with my chest like highly recommend this. No. So yeah, that was the second book that I read. So the third book that I read, this is where it gets interesting, and this is where I get really excited. We read Wild Card by Elsie Silver, which came out earlier in the month. And when I tell you I loved this book, oh my gosh, The age gap romance was done so beautifully. The boyfriend's father was done so beautifully. At first I was like, I don't know if I like this, and I don't really care for age gap romances. But they were only 12 years apart or something like that. And fully grown adults, fully understanding. I felt like the female main character was more mature than the male main character at times. I don't want to give too much away in the book because some stuff was like kind of told later on, and I just don't want to say too much. And plus I did a vlog on it, so if you want to check that out, you can get all the tea over there. Well, not all the tea because I don't share any spoilers, but you can get like my feelings and more as I'm reading it over there. However, everything was done very tasteful, very Elsie Silver. I absolutely loved the maturity of the female main character. I loved how she didn't back down. We know how sometimes men can kind of like shield their emotions, and that's what the male main character did. He kind of just let stuff sit and fester until it just blew up, and she didn't let his blow up distract her from the ultimate goal, which was them being together. So yes, I rated it 5 stars. I highly recommend. If you're not a fan of age gap romance, you will be after this. So there's that. I think some other tropes in it, of course, forced proximity. It's a cowboy romance, and then it's a slow burn. It definitely is, and that just reminded me, it definitely does give slow burn because they don't really get together until later on in the book. So you're just building up. There's a lot of angst there. It's a lot of tension there. It's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of, you know, we belong together, but we can't. It was just a lot of good drama and a lot of a good book to where it kept your attention. So yes, highly recommend that. So the next book I read was The Expiration Dates by Kimberly Brown. Drew a blank there. It's The Expiration Date by Kimberly Brown. So it follows Audrey and Sully, and Audrey is like a serial dater, and she goes to this cafe to break up with her dates. Like she maybe dates them for like 1 or 2 months, and then she just breaks up with them because she's like, love is just not out here. You know, I'm over it. So she takes them to this cafe, Sullivan's Cafe, I think that's what it's called, where she breaks up with them all the time. And this last date that she went on, which is how the book starts, she takes him to the coffee shop and breaks up with him. And he pretty much just like, there's a scene that happens. And so the owner, Sully, he is the one that comes in, kind of kicks them out and tells them like, don't come back. You know, I'm sick and tired of you always bringing your dates here. He's been watching her. And so I'm sick and tired of you bringing your dates to my coffee shop and then breaking up with them, and maybe you're the problem. Like, he's going in on this girl. And so obviously they fall into a romance, and they end up starting to date. And so something transpires to where his expiration date is going to be a little bit different than everybody else's. I did rate it 5 stars. This is a maybe recommendation for me. I enjoyed it, but I don't know if somebody else would enjoy it as much as I did. I just like the vibes. It had a trope in it that is one of my favorites. So yeah, it would be a maybe, but I loved it for sure. So the next book I read after this was The Due Date by Aisha Bree. And this is part of like a Billionaire Baby romance series by different authors. And so I'm not sure why I didn't rate this 5-star because I really enjoyed this book. It's a workplace romance. It's a forced proximity situation. So basically this the female main character, she has like, her parents are very strict. They have it set out for what she's supposed to be, how she's supposed to act. Just her whole life is just planned by her parents. And so she's kind of kicking up against the grain. So something transpires and she ends up messing around with some guy, and then months later she ends up working for his company because he's a tech whiz. So he's the male main character, so it's dual point of view, which I love, and we get his perspective as well. And so she ends up working for his tech company. Only when she gets there, things is not how he positioned her when they first had their one night stand. Completely different, but things are not always what they seem in the grand scheme of things. And so this is one of those situations where it's a lot of drama going on. It makes for a really, really good read. Like I said, I'm surprised that it wasn't 5 stars to me. Would I recommend this? Again, this is a huge maybe. Okay, y'all, so here's where things got interesting. So I had planned to read some historical fiction because I was in the mood for it. I had planned to read mystery because I was in the mood for it. I had planned all of these things, and I was in the middle of reading some of these things, and it got shut down because Gray Huffington created the Eisenberg series, or Eisenberg effect, and she created the domino effect. And let me tell you, these 6 books took up the latter of September, okay? I was completely engrossed in this series. I just couldn't get enough. So the first book in the series follows Luca. Luca is just getting out of jail. He has done an 8-year prison. Shoot, my dang battery. Okay, so I left off with Luca telling you about how he did an 8-year prison sentence before my battery rudely interrupted us. So it follows Luca, and then it follows the female main character, Ever. And so Ever is Lyric's best friend, and Lyric and Luca are brother and sister. And so it is a best friends brothers romance, or best friends sisters romance, however you want to look at it. Really amazing. When he gets out, the sister and Ever, because Ever is going through domestic violence, so she finally decided to leave her situation with her 2 children, and she's staying with Lyric. And so Lyric is like, hey, I want to get you out, let's go for a weekend up to get my brother, and then we'll hang out and do all the things. So they go up to where the jail is, they have a good night, and then they pick up the brother the next day. So the brother sees her, and it's a very insta love. Like, he sees her, he knows that he wants her, because they're just meeting for the first time, right? So that he has no idea that this is Lyric's best friend. He has no idea of her, you know, he doesn't know her at all. And so the family is super duper rich. Like, it's like billionaire, or maybe not billionaire, but millionaire money. Like, they have very long money. And Ever's guard is kind of up because Luca is swoon worthy. When I tell you he applied pressure, and Ever was in a situation where she didn't want a man to take care of her because she knows where that will lead. She knows that will lead to her being diminished and not feeling good about herself, and in a position where she can't take care of herself or her children. And so she doesn't want that. My boy applied some pressure, okay? Oh my goodness. He was the perfect book bae. He was the perfect being, like, just adapting on the outside, and I loved it. I rated it 5 stars, and I don't even know what to say. So the next book that I read was Lyric, and Lyric is the sister to Luca and the mailman character in book number 3. So this book follows Lyric, and it follows Keanu, aka Ken. Ken is the best friend to Lake and Luca. So here we are again with this best friend romance, but he's also has a relationship with Lyric as protector, as like a big brother, but they always had feelings for each other. So now we're talking friends to lovers. So they've known each other for a very long time. They grew up together, and she always had a crush on him. So Ever convinces her, because he did something happens to him where he goes away, and so she writes him and expressing her feelings, and he doesn't say anything back. So when he comes back home, he is met with some push from her. Like, she's moved on, she's, you know, in a relationship, and he's like on the defense, like, no, I wanted to talk about this in person. Now, did he handle things wrong? Yes, he did. He could have handled them better, but it made for a really good story. It made for a really good, like, sort of a little bit of drama, but that book was spicy. When I tell y'all, I put my Goodreads, when I tell y'all that's what they were doing, like, getting down, like getting down. okay? So yeah, the spice was definitely spicing in the book. The drama was there. The tension between the couple was there. I absolutely 1000% loved them. I ended up rating it 4 stars. So then the next book was Lake. I'm sorry, I didn't rate Luca 5 stars. I rated Luca 4 stars. Lake is the one I rated 5 stars. Lake is the younger brother to Luca. So it's Luca, then Lake, then Lyric. And so the middle child is done last, obviously, for purposes, because we know the middle children are crazy. For real. And Lake, he was crazy. That man was so crazy. So this is a second chance romance. Lake and Baisley. So Lake ended up leaving Baisley years later. They dated from like 11 to like the early 20s. And you know, when you get in your early 20s, you want to run amok. Like you want to run the streets. You want to see what, you know, somebody else take. You know, you just want to do things that you cannot do in a relationship. And that's what he did. But they ran into the same circle, or they ran in the same circles. So they couldn't they never got away from each other. They were always present in each other's life in some capacity. And so 10 years later, they are in a situation where she's moved on. And I mean, really is about to move on. And Lake just goes into a complete frenzy, just realizing like, wait a minute, I need a second chance. So this is a second chance romance. A lot of drama. I rated it 5 stars. It was literally one of my favorites in the series, and just amazing, just completely amazing. Baisley also was a really dope female main character. She owned her own business. She was everything you wanted to see in a female main character with maturity, if I could say that. So yeah, I definitely recommend that. So then the 4th book in this installment, Lake kind of ends on a cliffhanger, right? So not a cliffhanger to where you can't read it, but cliffhanger enough to where you need some answers. So now we move into Liam's story, and Liam is the father to Lake, Lyric, and Luca. It's a novella, so it's like 96 pages or something like that. But it tells the story of the ending to Lake. So we get a deeper dive into a younger Liam and a younger Laura, which is the wife, and explaining certain things that happened that was found out in Lake. And when I tell you, Liam's story was wild as heck. It's wild as heck. I highly recommend you read this series in order. Don't skip over. Definitely don't skip over Liam's story. Read them in order, and you will appreciate this series in just a way that I can't even explain to y'all. I can't even explain to y'all. After we get Liam's story, that's when we pick up with Ledge. So now we're in a whole new series called The Domino Effect. And it's important to read the Eisenberg before you read Ledge and Law. Again, I don't feel like you would appreciate it until you read those 4 books first. You can really get a grasp on the family dynamics, how powerful Liam and Laura are, how supportive they are to their children, but yet holding the children accountable. Like, it's totally worth the binge. But anyway, we get to Ledge's story, whole new series again. I had to finish it out because they're very connected. And Ledge is a twin to Law. I'll talk about his book in a minute. It follows Ledge, and the female main character's name was Halo. And so Halo and Ledge meet at his bar. She has kind of an illness or a sickness where argophobia. Basically, she has a fear of being around people and being out in public and being outside. And so she takes this opportunity because she wants to do something for herself. So her friend drags her out to this bar where she meets my boy Ledge. And they end up having a situation. And months later, they meet up and they kind of form this relationship. And Ledge is very patient with her because her condition is not for the weak. Her condition is very much, he had the patience of Job. I mean, I'm trying to tell you, like, there were times where I was getting frustrated with her and I'm like trying to have compassion, but I was just getting irritated because I'm like, girl, what are you doing? Obviously things are going so perfectly, like they seem to just be, you know, vibing together and just coming to some rhythm with one another and rapport with one another. And of course, as the book goes on, about 80% in, we get met and hit with something that I did not see coming, that I did not expect. It all gets worked out, of course, in the end. There is a happily ever after, but it was just something that I wasn't expecting from one of the characters. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But this is one of those, I want to see what I would call this. This would be considered a slow burn. I don't even need to look. This is definitely a slow burn. Definitely focus on mental health and abuse and stuff like that. So Ledge was more deeper than the other books as far as getting something out of it. Or not getting something out of it, but just making you think a little bit more than the average romance, let me say it that way, because I definitely got something out of the other books. I did end up rating it 5 stars. Again, I recommend only if you read the series in order, because you'll just appreciate these characters so much more. So then we have Law, which is Ledge's twin brother. Law was crazy, and I mean that in the way that I'm telling y'all. Law was a psycho, like psycho. So the Law follows, of course, Law and Clue. And Clue is the first cousin to Baisley, which is Lake's wife. And so Clue has a very different occupation. They end up meeting in like a weird way. There's a lot of one night stands going on, or hookups going on between the couple that was never really a couple at the time. They were just like kind of hooking up whenever they, you know, saw each other or whatever. And so towards the middle of the book, they realized that they are connected in a stronger way. Like they didn't know that their peoples knew each other. They didn't know like that they were so close to each other but so far away. And so Clue is one of those women where she has been burned before, and she's not looking for something more than what they are doing. Like she just wants the D, and that's it. And so he starts falling for her. Like he starts falling for her real bad, to the point where he will do anything, he will say anything to get her attention. And so they kind of fall into, like, you know, like I said, like just a little romance. And I had a hard time connecting with Clue because of the profession and stuff like that. But I loved her as a character. I said in my Goodreads how I wish we could have got more as to why she was so hell-bent on not being in a relationship with anybody, because we've all been hurt as women. I just didn't feel like it wasn't explained deep enough for her hurt to be the way that it was. Like, as aggressive as it was. Like, what? Who hurt you, girl? Like, help me help you at this point. So, read Luca, Lyric, Lake, Liam, Ledge, and Law. 6 books back to back. I promise you. These characters are so lovable. Oh my gosh. I wish they were like real people, because I would try to go hang out with them for real. Because they were so lovable. The female main characters were so dope, so strong. Just the whole vibe. There was has been a lot of talk about the books being very wordy, which I will say they are wordy, but the storyline and the characters so great that it being wordy, you kind of want them details. Like, okay, yeah, I want to know what she was drinking in her cup. You know what I mean? Like, it was totally worth the read, totally worth the binge, totally worth me putting everything else off just to finish it. So yeah, that's what we read. My goals for October, let me share my goals with you on my journal. I have some serious goals, because this was another month where I just got sucked up into the romance situation, and I kind of just want to, I don't want to get out of it because romance is my first love, but I just want to make sure that I am spreading my horizons a little bit, my reading horizons. So my goals for October as far as reading is concerned is to read 2 male authors, 2 historical fictions, 2 suspenses. I want to post more on YouTube, so you guys will be seeing your girl a lot more often. And just get the subscriber count up. Those are my reading goals for the month. I have on here to read King of Ashes, The Nightingale, Tell Me What You Did, The Perfect Divorce, which I'm going to buddy read with a friend of mine. So we have a lot of good goals, a lot of good reads coming up, a lot of vlog ideas coming up that I want to get into, and I'm excited. So stick around with your girl, and I hope to see you guys all in the next video. Deuces. 4,000. So yeah, this is the second month. Oh, hold on. Taking a bid for whatever happened. And so it's a best friend. Hold on. 3, 2, 1. What am I talking about right now? He 3, 2, 1. What is going on with me right now? So friends to lovers, I don't know what's wrong with me. 3, 2, 1.